And asked who's in charge of Venezuela, US President Donald Trump answered, "Don't ask me. It's controversial. We're in charge." Now, Trump has doubled down after the US strike on Caracas, saying a US helicopter was hit but recovered with no casualties. He's further called Venezuela a, quote, dead country, unquote, blamed years of misrule and said US oil companies are ready to rebuild Venezuela's shattered infrastructure. Now, these remarks come as Trump issues big warnings threatening a second strike, even on Venezuela, telling Mexico to get its act together and also warning neighboring Cuba may be close to collapse. Though he says the military action may not be needed. Now, this comes even as Secretary of State Marco Rubio insists the U.S. will not run Venezuela day to day, stressing pressure through an oil quarantine and not occupation. 2 days into regime change, reactions remain split. Support from Israel and France, condemnation from the likes of China and Russia. Meanwhile, satellite images show strike damage at the Fort Tuna complex. Trump has warned interim leader Delcy Rodriguez. Vice President Vance calls Venezuela a cartel hub, while Venezuela's military backs Rodriguez, accusing Washington of civilian deaths.
In charge of Venezuela right now. Have you spoken to the newly sworn in president there, Rodriguez? And what are your thoughts on the entire situation? You said the U.S. would run Venezuela.
We're dealing with the people. We're dealing with the people that just got sworn in. And don't ask me who's in charge, because I'll give you an answer and it'll be very controversial.
What does that mean?
It means we're in charge.
Meanwhile, viewers, my colleague Vishal Vivek spoke to exiled Venezuelan political activist Jorge Rodriguez, who's in fact been living in Miami since 2018 and has been subject to political persecution by the now captured Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro. Listen in.
Now that Maduro is gone, he's out of the equation. What is your plan now? The fact that Maduro's government is still quite intact, his allies are still there, top 4 people are still in the government. What are your plans now?
Yeah, that's a good point that you brought, because a lot of people, a lot of American readers and people all over the world assume that since Maduro is gone, a lot of people are thinking that Venezuela is already free and it's a safe country. That's certainly not the case so far. Hopefully it will be. We had an amazing victory, but it is not over yet. Basically, the second in the line of command, who is Maduro's illegitimate vice president, her name is Delcy Rodriguez. She's the one in charge inside Venezuela now. So we will see how they're going to be behaving. I have read that President Donald Trump and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, apparently they are maybe a little optimistic, and they believe that they are going to be able to influence her and actually use her as a tool to start rebuilding Venezuela without finding a lot of internal opposition from our armed forces, like military forces and police forces. I hope they're right. I'm skeptical because I have seen firsthand how all these people behave. I don't believe it's going to be, even if they wanted to, it's not easy for them to give up power, because they are basically a drug cartel. And the moment they let the United States, take control of different things inside the country, well, they're going to see their drug operation being disrupted, and their partners, their international partners, and even their internal partners are not going to be happy about that. So I think Delcy Rodriguez is currently facing either two options from my point of view. She either complies and try to cooperate as much as possible with the United States, with the risk of facing, some sort of internal crisis, or she either stays loyal to the status quo. She doesn't do anything to comply, but then she might be facing a second, attack from the United States. So it's not an easy position for her to be in, but certainly Venezuela is not. It's not over. It's not like I can return right now. I don't have the certainty that if I return, I won't be, put in prison. Actually, I still have a lot of friends who are captured, who are in prison, and They haven't really released them. There are a lot of you have this paramilitary group named Colectivos, which is basically a bunch of civilians who carry long weapons and terrorize society to avoid political opposition. Those groups are patrolling the streets of Venezuela to avoid, the masses from taking the streets and start, basically they don't want them to be celebrating what happened. So there's a lot of chaos right now inside Venezuela. People are still fearful. So it's not over. We had a massive victory, but there is still a long road to walk through. Yeah.
Well, you heard the exiled political activist there, Jorge Galicia, detailing what he intends to do now that Maduro has in fact been captured by US authorities. Meanwhile, viewers, here's a report detailing the subsequent U-turn taken by Washington after Maduro's capture and where things, more importantly, currently stand. Take a look. A special forces and intelligence operation that sent shockwaves across the globe. One of the world's most powerful dictators, Nicolas Maduro, overthrown by the US. Less than 2 days after an unprecedented attack on their country, Venezuelan leaders remain defiant. Venezuela's Defense Minister Vladimir Pedrino has demanded the release of Maduro, arguing that he is still the rightful leader of the South American country. In a sharp U-turn, the US says it would not govern Venezuela day to day. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio says America is not at war with Venezuela just 1 day after US forces struck key targets and detained Maduro and his wife. Pedrino paints a starkly different picture, claiming a large part of Maduro's security team was killed, along with what he calls innocent civilians during the US operation. On the other hand, the Venezuelan army backs interim President Delcy Rodriguez, a move that raises serious questions about who truly controls the country. President Donald Trump has issued a blunt warning, telling the Atlantic that Rodriguez will pay a big price if she does not do what is right. On the streets of Venezuela, fear and uncertainty dominate. Citizens worried about whether a peaceful transition of power is still possible. Meanwhile, Maduro and his wife are expected to appear in court on Monday. Even as Venezuela braces for what could be its most dangerous political crossroads yet. Vishal Vivek for NDTV World.